Hey guys, it's Melanie here at Christian YA Books and More. Thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to be talking about my April book wrap up. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, and I think I read about 9 books, but actually 2 of them I didn't finish. So I'll talk about that at the end, because that was at the end of the month. So the first book I read was Fairest Beauty by Melanie Dickerson. As you already know, she's like one of my favorite authors. This follows Sophie and Gabe. Sophie has been tucked away by the evil witch stepmother that she has, and the witch stepmother pretended to kill her and made her a servant in the castle. But she was actually betrothed when she was young, like a baby, to Volton. Volton is Gabe's older brother, and so Gabe, because Volton was in a tournament, broke his leg. Volton couldn't come back and rescue Sophie when they found out about her, and so Gabe went, and he's not really a fighter, but he can notch an arrow pretty well, and he goes after Sophie to rescue her for Volton, but accidentally sort of kind of falls in love with her, and it's their story about the rescue and everything like that. It was really good. This had me on the seat of my pants sometimes, and then had me gasping for air, wanting to not want this to read the story again. It was so good. So that's this one I read here, and I think I rated this a 5-star. The next was also a Melanie Dickerson book because I ran through the series pretty quickly, and that was The Captive Maiden. This follows Volton's love story, and she's locked up obviously in the castle, and she is captive in the sense of her stepmother and her stepsisters. It's very much after the Cinderella story, as you can tell, and it's so beautiful. I loved how Volton, I don't know how you say that name, Volton, how he's such a strong character. He's very strong, silent type, and I liked that sort of about him. I didn't like it totally, but I did like it, and I really liked her character, but she is so sweet and gentle, and he is very strong, and he obviously fell in love with her, and their love story is very gentle and such a gentle romantic. But Volton, being as strong as he was, and physically strong, and we follow some of his tournaments and stuff like that, he actually gets humbled, and because he kind of gets stuck in the end. It's a really neat story, and I love the character aspects of it. All of these books have amazing character development and storyline and plotline, as well as following the fairy tales that they are made after. So this is a great read. I also rated this a 5-star. So this one is also a Melanie Dickerson book. And if you didn't know, I already did a fairy tale retelling book chat about these books, and I will link that below for you guys. This is The Princess Spy. She is Margaretha, which is the daughter of Rose. So we had in the last 2 Gabe, the son of Rose and Wilhelm from The Healer's Apprentice, and then we had Volton in The Captive Maiden, who's the oldest son of Rose and Wilhelm in The Healer's Apprentice. And this one is Margaretha, who's a chatty girl, and she is now faced with a dilemma. She is being courted by an interesting fella, Mr. Claybrook, I think his name is, and he is very interesting and very funny, and a very interesting fella. You'll have to read the book for that. But she's being courted by him, and she's like wanting to get married, but of course, has to be somebody respectful. And then all of a sudden, somebody comes into town who looks like a raving lunatic because he's speaking another language, and she's very well educated, and she can speak English because this is set in Germany. And so this guy says that he's being somebody's trying to kill him, and he came to this country to find him and make justice, and he just sounds like this crazy guy. And she is now going to spy on her courting fella for this crazy lunatic. It is a hugely hilarious book and is so funny, and I love the underlining plot through it, and she is such a chatterbox, so she has to be a spy. It's quite hilarious, the whole thing. So that's that, and I also rated this one a 5. Then I got from an author, which is signed as well, is Defire by Mandy Fender. And I really like this book. It's actually, I didn't know exactly what this book was about, and I can see why it got stuck at the border, because it talks about a lot of the issues that we are facing in our world today, and it dealt with some pretty heavy topics, and so I can see how that can affect why I didn't want to come to Canada. But anyways, this is an amazing book. It really deals with how to stand up for your faith, and strength of faith, and hidden secrets. There's a next book coming out of this. I cannot wait to read. I only rated this a 3, but it is still a very good book, and I really love the story of Lennox and Skye. I was so sad in the beginning of the book because we lost a very good character, and so I really wanted to see more of her because she's just amazing. And but the storyline follows Lennox and Skye, who's the strongest characters of them all, and is an incredible story of faith and standing up for your faith and not being ashamed of what you believe in. It's a very, very, very good book. So definitely recommend this book. It is 3, I think a 3.5 that maybe I rated it. I'll have to check. But anyways, I think it's about 3.5, 3, around there. So her next book is coming out, and I can't wait to get that one as well, and so that's Defire by Mandy Fender. After that, I got on I really wanted to finish this series because it is just high intense, incredibly fast moving, incredibly great read, and just I really loved how Andrew Clavin writes, and this is the second book in the Homelander series. Again, with the same kind of topics as Defire, which I just talked about, very relevant to what we're dealing with in our world today, and just incredibly awesome ride. This is like a roller coaster ride. It's so fast moving. This is the second book. I'm actually currently reading the third book with my kids because they heard me read a couple chapters out loud to them one night, and now I'm stuck reading to them, so it's taking me a lot longer to read them. I could burn through these in one night because they're so fast and so good, but now I have to slow down for them, which is okay, but I definitely would love to keep reading them all. I need number 4 anyways, so that's why I kind of don't mind, so because I know I'd want to pick up the next book. But this follows Charlie West. The first book is The Last Thing I Remember, because he wakes up not being able to remember anything, and then he starts to learn why. The background, he starts to piece things together, and he finds characters in here from his past that I absolutely love and adore. And so that's why I really like this book, and it just gives a lot more perspective to what exactly happened, and so, but it's still crazy fast moving, and I just love it. Definitely, if you love male point of views and fast action and stuff like that, this is a book to read. So yeah, that's that. Then I kind of wanted to take a break because I had started 2 books that I will talk to you about in a minute. That I didn't really like, and so I needed something just a little bit more cheery and just something I knew I would like and some sort of happiness to it, and so I got this book given to me. It was on my TBR shelf right there, and usually I don't go for this kind of book, although I love Amish, I love their lifestyle, I love everything about them, but I usually don't go for these kinds of books right away. I like action and more drama. But these books are just great if you're on a slump. They're perfect because they're just totally sweet stories that just have a reflection of Christ, and just it's really great. So Beverly Lewis is awesome. She's always been awesome. This is a used book that was given to me. So it was kind of hard. I like nice newer books. It was hard for me to read this one, but it was okay. The story is really great. And actually, I had a hard time with one of the characters in there. I had a hard time forgiving them for what they did. And so the character arc was perfect for me because I actually was following along in the story, trying to forgive and trying to move on with Joanna. And there was two spots, like in the beginning was really great, and the setup of the story was really wonderful. The middle had two spots were really slow. Then we finally hit some plots that were starting to pick up again, and that was really nice. And then the end wrapped it up just actually in a full circle. I love how she started the book and she ended it literally in a full circle. It was so beautiful and well written. So these are really great for when you're in a slump, just to have a nice fluffy read that's really perfect and puts your feet back on solid ground. So yeah, that was that. And I think I rated this one a 3 or 4. I want to say 3, but it might be a 4. So check out Reality Writer at realitywriter.wordpress.com, I believe that is, where you can see all of my reviews and my starred reviews for that. And then what I talk about on them and how I feel and a lot of stuff about each of those books. The last two, I'm going to do them together because technically they aren't really books that I read, even though I did start them. I didn't finish them. And that was Invasion. This is a new to me author. It's John S. Lewis. And then also this one here, which is The Outriders by Catherine McHale. Now, with the Invasions, this is really sci-fi and high fantasy, I felt. Oh, this one's high fantasy. This one's extremely sci-fi and, to me, fantasy. So, as my name, Reality Writer, I love things that have a lot of reality in them that you can really relate to and just really understand and relate to. And this was really interesting. My son started to really get into it, so I was reading it aloud to him, but he lost interest, and I just can't picture Sasquatch as an alien. I just can't. So that's just me. I'm sure it's a perfect read for some other people out there, and so I didn't rate it because I didn't think that was fair, and I just stopped reading it, unfortunately. If you want me to give this to you, I'll definitely send it to you. Maybe comment below and tell me that you want it. I have the series, and you can definitely have it. Otherwise, I'm just going to give it away to my secondhand store. Sorry, John S. Lewis. And then this one here was seriously high fantasy. I had a hard time. Now this was a little different. I really wanted to finish the other book, but just couldn't wrap my brain around some of the concepts. This one was actually just really hard. I wanted to read more. It has an interesting idea behind the story, but I felt like it was so lost in a lot of the high fantasy ideas that just weren't explained for me to understand as a reader. So she would name certain things that I just couldn't relate to. I didn't know what they meant, and they were sort of explained but not really, and I couldn't visualize anything except for the giants and a couple of the other things, but the concept behind it seemed to be really good, and I really tried hard. I just couldn't. Sometimes that happens. And I couldn't finish it. So I also didn't rate this one, and I wouldn't consider this to be my a book that I read, although I started to read it, and it is part of the challenge in my Goodreads challenge that gave me my 100% 25 reads for the year, but I can't say that I actually read these, so I'm not going to include them in my personal one. That's it for now, guys. That's what I read in March. April. That's my April wrap-up. And the books that I'm planning to read, I have extra books that I wanted to buy, so I think I will leave that out for now for my to be read books. But that's it for the April haul. I have another video coming to you soon that I'm really excited about, and I collaborated with somebody on, so check that out and continue watching and subscribe. See you later and happy reading.